All right, it should be live. Everywhere it needs to be live. Let me see. Share, right post. Boom. Hello, people.
Let's see. I'm checking.
You're looking. You're finding. You're doing stuff.
Yeah. Don't have it yet. So now I'm going to have to go back to. I don't know why it didn't pop this time. So.
I don't know. I demand a recount.
Try it again. There we go. All right. Hi. Yeah, that's good. All right. Are we ready?
We are ready.
Okay. It is the Brad and Britt cast. We're live here in the 1:30 hour or so on Wednesday afternoon after the election. And I'm not going to say this because I'm not that kind of person that would say this.
Thank God.
But I'm so glad that Rush Limbaugh is going to live long enough to see Donald Trump lose to Joe Biden when Biden comes in with exactly 270 electoral votes, just under the wire. I'm glad that Rush will see that. Because
this is your grand prediction that it's exactly 270.
Well, yeah, I mean that's where it's headed at as we speak.
As we speak,
if all the leads hold up exactly as they are, and if it's Arizona, Nevada, Wisconsin,
Michigan,
yeah,
and you give Trump Pennsylvania and Georgia, then it'll be exactly you can be exactly 270 with that weird district in Maine, and then the thing in Nebraska, you get to 270. Yeah.
You get to 270, and
that would be interesting.
It's game over, and
I would almost want to see that happen, but I have not given up hope on Pennsylvania and Georgia.
Yeah, well, but the great thing is if you can get the Big Ten, except for
Penn State.
And by the way, these are two words you never thought you'd hear from me. Go blue. That's what they say at Michigan.
I see what you did there. Yeah, I see what you did there.
Right, because obviously the scarlet and gray is a complete failure.
I have given up on North Carolina because that's just it's a lost cause. I don't know how we reelected the governor. Well, we elected a conservative lieutenant governor, and apparently Donald Trump is going to carry the state. But again, that's not a done deal either.
No, and Cal Cunningham is not conceding right now.
Yeah, he's not dead yet.
He says not it. not doing it. There's still 117,000 absentee ballots that they haven't counted, and we know that the absentee ballots and the mail-in ballots favor the Democrats. So, yeah, I think he's probably on sound ground not to just throw in the towel to that worm, Tom Tillis. And so there you.
Yeah, Michigan's so far over. Donald Trump has no chance there. Wisconsin is so over. They even Scott Walker, the former governor, of course, no liberal is he, has said that a recount, which the Trump administration, the Trump campaign is going to request, is useless and it won't do any good at all.
Right.
So yeah, I stayed up rather late because, as you know, my schedule is flipped. I usually work nights anyway, but I was snoozing on and off, and I was up till about 4:30 looking and doing stuff. For most of the night, I was pretty good. I was not watching the news channels when everybody was freaking out at 7 o'clock or 8:30 or anything. I was watching some Modern Family reruns, and I started zoning in on it around 11:30 or 12. And then things were pretty depressing for a while. I did not catch the Trump "Let's have a civil war" speech at 3:30. Would you like to go into some detail about what Donald Trump said at 3:30?
No, because here's the bottom line. The bottom line is, and we've talked about this before, when you're in elementary school and you get the little half pint milk things, and it has the president on the side, it has one little line about what, Lincoln freed the slaves, Roosevelt ended depression, won World War II, all these one little, Kennedy got us to the, said we'll go to the moon. With Trump, it's going to be tough. It's going to be brutal to come up with one line to describe him, because it's kind of a rotating thing. He needs several different milk cartons. But today, he has definitely cemented in one other phrase: king of the frivolous lawsuit.
Oh, that's the greatest.
Right? Now, doesn't he have about 4,000 lawsuits in his past?
Sure he does.
And he's either lost or settled most of them. He never wins.
There's a Phil Hendry parallel in this. Steve Bozell was always suing people for absolutely no reason whatsoever. I think after 9/11, he was suing his kids or his wife for making loud noises around the house, making them think there was an explosion. Donald Trump is the Steve Bozell of America. It's the greatest thing of all time. Yeah. And you can always find some shitty lawyer to do your bidding in America. That's one of the great things about this country. He's got a line of idiots to go do his bidding, and he'll never pay them. So that's the beauty of it.
He sent out a fundraiser email today already to try to raise. This is a guy who, again, and I think at this point, now that whatever happens in the election, you still have X number of many millions of people who voted for Trump. More people voted for him this time than the last time. So he may lose with more votes than he got the last time in total. But they're out there, and it's going to be up to all of us to understand them. Fuck you. No,
yeah, right. No,
I'm not going. No,
don't marginalize them. Don't minimize them.
Right,
You can't pillory them. You can't vilify them. No, you have to really try to coddle these people and understand what they want.
Right. It's way too late for that. But the fact that, again, if you ask a Trumper, and it's just a random conversation, what's great about Trump? Well, he's a great businessman.
Is he?
He's really wealthy because he's really, really smart. But stop right there. Why does he keep sending out fundraising letters to file, in effect, lawsuits on his own behalf to save his own job? Isn't he supposed to pay for this kind of? Is this going to be a Republican funded group of lawsuits around the country?
I'm sure it will be, and I really hope that there are people living in trailer parks or living on $20,000 a year. They're not going to send him $10 so that he can fight for their rights to take away their health care. I mean, I hope that's not the point. I hope that's not the case, but again, I'm not stupid. I know what's been going on the past 4 years, and I know how these people have been supporting him. I have a little insight on the cesspool that apparently is Miami-Dade County. I have a little insight on it because somebody said the Miami-Dade County went for Trump, and that essentially was the state. That's the largest county in the state, and I think Broward is second, and then I think Palm Beach is third. I think they're 1, 2, 3 up there in that corner of Florida. Apparently, the Cuban Americans in Miami-Dade County have signed up for the Affordable Care Act in far larger numbers per capita than any other group. So they are voting for the guy who's kicking the shit out of them and trying to take away the Affordable Care Act.
Wait, can I then add the following sentence? because they're afraid of socialism.
That's right.
Of course, that was the insult hurled at Obama and Obamacare.
That's
that
right.
It was a government takeover
Socialized medicine
of healthcare, which it wasn't.
No,
but that you bring that up now actually is like a double or triple irony, and it ups that famous picture of the guy, keep the government's hands off my Medicare.
That's right.
This is that.
That's right.
On Cubano steroids. It's so stupid. And again, we don't want to marginalize and make fun of people for not understanding the issues or being fooled by a con man. But this is con me once, shame on you. Con me twice, shame on me. And shame on Florida, shame on South Florida, shame on Miami-Dade County, and shame on the Cubans who come to this country and then turn on the values and the liberties of the United States under the guise of fighting like it's 1962 and Castro is still in charge, and it's Joe Biden every day is still having dinner with Fidel Castro.
That's right.
You don't even apparently know he's dead.
He's dead.
He's dead. I'm dead. Everyone is dead. I wish
Miami-Dade County was dead.
Miami-Dade County would be dead. It's really embarrassing. When you see what happened in the other large counties in Florida, every one of them came around. Yeah. Every one of them figured it out.
Hillsborough County, Orange County, Duval County, all the big ones. Yeah.
Jacksonville. That's a redneck.
That's Duval County, absolutely.
And they figured it out.
I would just like to apologize. For a few years, I've just been talking about the redneck, stupid white people in the trailer parks voting against their own economic interests. Apparently, Cuban Americans are very capable of voting against their own economic interests as well, and kicking the own shit and putting the kick me sign on themselves. So my apologies.
It's still like it's 1972, and the Cuban population in South Florida is still fairly freshly arrived from Cuba within 10 or 15 years. So these are young people, none of them probably over 40 or 50 years old. And they just sit around all day playing dominoes, right? Wasn't that the stereotype? That's all they were doing, was playing dominoes.
Dominoes and talking about baseball. Just talking about, that's all they do. Listening to jazz.
Right.
That's what happens. Maybe they play some chess in the park sometimes as well.
So Florida is the Charlie Brown football thing. But again, the saddest part of what happened yesterday is, and there's no sense in spending all this time. Oh, the polls were wrong again. They can never get it right. Well, okay, that's not the point, because. And I'm the first one to ever say this. The only poll that matters is the ones that taken on election day.
How did you come up with that?
I came up with that. So it doesn't matter about the polls, okay? Because all of us were saying all the way through, it doesn't matter certainly what the national number is, and the state polls all were within the margin of error. And when that piece of shit came out last week that Wisconsin was Biden by 17, something was really wrong. Because he was never going to be up by 17.
I was hoping, but no,
he might be up by 17,000, but not 17 points overall. The sad part is that we not only didn't get a repudiation of Donald Trump by a lot of people who, over the last 4 years, I'm sure many of them said, well, this is too much, but I'm going to vote for him anyway because you hate him more than I do, and I hate you because you hate him. So I'm going to vote for him. And there's a lot of that. I mean, Trump is a master manipulator. He's a liar, and he repeated the lies. And maybe I missed this, but in all those polls, exit polls, where they ask, well, what was the most important thing to? What the hell happened to coronavirus? Apparently, the lying about the coronavirus worked.
It did.
It worked. We've moved on past it. It doesn't exist. And Trump is right. Look, today they're not talking about the corona. That's because there was a fucking election last night, you shit. You asshole.
Yeah, they're
Don't
worried about
worry,
who's going to be
still there.
And they're trying to get through your lies.
If I may say something that I'm sure will be said over the next few days, the coronavirus doesn't respect the election process.
It does not.
It doesn't care. It doesn't take a day off.
Yeah, the people in the hospitals still have to go back to work and deal with nearly 100,000 cases a day. So no matter what the election was yesterday, this was my favorite because he's already bitching, whining, and complaining from early this morning. Well, not a little bit earlier before we started our show. Trump tweets, "How come every time they count mail-in ballot dumps, they are so devastating in their percentage and power of destruction?" Tommy Vitor, who is part of Crooked Media. Hang on a second. Let me get. How come every time they count mail-in ballot dumps, they are so devastating in their percentage and power of destruction? That is a Trump tweet from earlier this morning. Oh Tommy Vitor, part of Crooked Media and the Pod Save America family, says, "Because you told your voters not to vote by mail and called it rigged and fraudulent, you blithering idiot." As it turns out, when you tell your supporters not to vote by mail because it's rigged and it doesn't work, they tend not to vote by mail. So that means most of the mail-in votes are going to be Democratic, you dipshit. Right. And I would like to address for just a moment, Brad, why are we getting late counts and we didn't already have counts of these mail-in and absentee ballots? Do you know why that is in places specifically like Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin?
Well, because with my neighbor, who is only about 5 miles away as the crow flies, Louis DeJoy,
yeah,
it was mission accomplished in using the U.S. Postal Service to, on the margins, and we're talking about the margins here. We're not talking about a majority of mail-in votes, but enough of them, because that was the plan. They knew it was going to be a close election, and if they can just mess up enough ballots coming through the mail to slow them down, maybe Trump can file a lawsuit, and maybe his three musketeers on the Supreme Court can drag along Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito, and there's 5 to take on a lawsuit that should never be filed, has no standing, should not be heard, but this upside down, completely insane idea of stopping the count or stop.
Exactly. It's the third quarter. We're up by 21. Right. Stop the game.
Right.
That's what we want. And also the reason that in those specific states is that the Republican legislature said you cannot start counting the votes before Election Day. And I think in Pennsylvania, it was even until like 7 o'clock on Election Day. So that's why those results are not already there and readily available as they are in some other states, because the Republican state legislature kept them from counting those votes until Election Day. So but shut up.
And the fact that they got held up in North Carolina is unbelievable.
Absolutely.
And held up around Wake County is double unbelievable.
Absolutely. There's a lot of votes that are unaccounted for and not scanned in Greensboro as well. And they have to go to court today, the United States Postal Service, to explain why they failed to comply with a court order from a federal judge, which they did. They basically said, thanks for telling us to go sweep, but we're not going to. So now he has to be deposed, or he has to at least appear in court and explain why he defied a federal judge's order.
Right, but those votes are going to be counted, and they're going to count because Absolutely. they were postmarked by yesterday or the day before, and I would guess that Donald Trump and his side will lie about that, and they will claim that these are votes that should not be counted, because they will take anything that can be lied about and spun into bullshit and try to make it into a legal case. But I just don't think it's going to work. The financial markets love the idea. They've been showing it for the last 2 days. They love the idea of a divided government. And when they saw the kind of turnout that there was yesterday and the early returns that were starting to flow in, that the likelihood of a flip to the Democrats of the Senate was not likely. And they were factoring in a Joe Biden win, and they continue to factor in a Joe Biden win. But even if Trump were to win, you'd still have the same kind of divided do-nothing government that the financial markets and business likes, because you don't have to claim we're not going to regulate you. Don't worry, the Congress can't do anything.
That's right.
They don't do shit. So nothing. So what's happened is anybody that decided last week to run for the hills, and I'm getting out of the markets because it's too uncertain. Well, guess what? Now there's certainty that there will be uncertainty, that we won't have a unified government, and it's weird, and it doesn't kind of make sense, but it sort of does. And so the markets are way up in the middle of the day here so far. It is bizarre. It is bizarre.
What do you make of that? The fact that the Democrats, it appears, will not be taking control of the Senate. That's not a good sign in and of itself. Obviously, to have the divided government like that, it looks like they packed on some seats onto the House, though. It looks like they tacked on a few more seats of their majority in the House. And Nancy Pelosi,
they didn't.
They did not. Okay.
No, well, you just made that up and hoped it was true.
Well, Brad, things change between 2 and 5, so I think I can be excused for some of that. I know, again, we're still counting some votes. It's not just
they lost seats in the House. The Democratic majority shrunk a little bit.
Well, is it correct that Nancy Pelosi will still be Speaker?
Well, if she
well, I didn't make that up. I'm good to know that I'm up to date on a few things. Right. So yeah, so what do you make of all of that?
Well, there's no way to spin this. The QAnon candidate won in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The crazy ass guy over in Asheville, that
Madison Cawthorn, I think is the gentleman's name,
who's a complete creep.
Just because he's a huge fan of Hitler, I don't think you should call him a complete creep. It's just not. I don't think that's fair.
And he tweeted out a "fuck you" kind of tweet after he won.
Right.
Very, very, very magnanimous. So it's the country is really, really divided, and they did send several longtime Democratic congressmen packing across the country. And my conventional wisdom, my theory on Monday, that it would be a much bigger Democratic and Biden win because I only had 2 trick-or-treaters, so that the mothers of America and the women of America who care more about health would not be so stupid as to let their kids run around and trick-or-treat. That theory, sadly, blew up. And it didn't happen. Not enough people came out and did what needed to be done. And you hate to say, well, if the country is completely destroyed, maybe the Republicans will start losing in these rural areas. Maybe they'll wake up. I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know what it's going to take. I don't want, and I find it ridiculous that today, now it's the Democrats don't understand anything. They don't know how to run a campaign. They don't know shit. 2 days ago, it was Joe Biden's campaign. They've been picture perfect. They have been on key. They have known exactly. And look, if the country is going to choose a guy who ran around and spread the coronavirus in these mass Nuremberg beer putsch rallies reminiscent of Hitler in the 1930s, and they think that he's the guy that should be leading our country when he's proven himself to be all the things that we don't have to go through what Donald Trump is, was, and always will be. They're choosing him because somehow, some way, and I think your theory on this is at the same time completely sick but totally true, which is the fantasy level of people thinking that if I just behave and vote for Donald Trump, I will one day have all the shit that he does. Yeah. I will have all the babes that he has had.
The hot wife. I'll have all the money. I will he doesn't have any money. I have all the massive debt.
Exactly.
And I can fuck over independent contractors, which is what I am. So that'll be great. I can't wait to do that.
Right.
So but that's the way it is.
I can only lean on something like that that's really irrational, but probably more true than we want to admit. Because
it's Occam's razor.
I don't understand it. I admit it. And,
but it looks like, I mean, on the positive side, Joe Biden will have received more votes than anybody has ever received for president of the United States. He is going to win. It may only be 2 or 3 percentage points. It may not be the 6 or 7 that we wanted, but it looks like he's going to win this election. And that is the positive takeaway from this entire thing. And Donald Trump is going to cry about it for the rest of his life while he's in jail.
We're talking here like Biden got blown out or lost. And neither of those things have happened or are likely to happen. He is not likely to lose. All the areas where the votes haven't been counted. Pick a state that's still left that hasn't been called. Every one of those states, the votes haven't been totally tabulated, absentee usually, from Democratic areas. It's whether it's Clark County, Las Vegas in Nevada, whether it's Maricopa County, Phoenix in Arizona, whether it's Wayne County, Detroit, Michigan, whether it's Philadelphia County, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania,
Fulton County in Georgia.
Right. Exactly. Those are all Democratic sites or places. And so any lead that Joe Biden has had in those places is probably going to hold up and maybe even expand, or if it does shrink, it won't shrink by much. And in the case of Georgia, where he's losing by about 100,000 votes, there are way more than 100,000 votes that haven't been counted yet. They come from heavily Democratic areas where the current ratio was like 85 to 15 of the votes that came in. So
but what you just said, though, that's a specifically Democratic thing to do. A lot of times as Democrats, we talk ourselves into losing when we're actually winning. That's what happens a lot of the time. I mean, I wish it would have been a blowout. I wish he would have swept those 4 Midwestern states and it would have gone over 300. That's not going to happen. Doesn't mean we didn't win. It doesn't mean that, we didn't stop Donald Trump. But, again, I would have loved for it to be an overwhelming victory so that he would have no bullets in his chamber to go to court. He's going to go to court and he's going to get beat because there's no basis for what he's done. There's no precedent for anything he's done. They're going to ask for a recount in Wisconsin. He may end up worse off once the recount is done. It's okay. I know 2016 and the scars run very deep, but that's not going to happen again. 2016 was 2016 from 5 minutes ago and Trump's account. Wow, it looks like Michigan has now found the ballots necessary to keep a wonderful young man, John James from the U.S. Senate. What a terrible thing is happening.
Okay, so I know that's bullshit, and I know I'm sure that the votes that are coming in Wayne County, which is Detroit, right, heavily Democratic district, those votes are for Gary Peters as much as they are for Joe Biden. So they're going to add up, and so Peters, the Democrat, will apparently, based on the whining by President Weiner, is going to keep his Senate seat. That's what I'm reading into what you just read, right? Because you can gauge the desperation in the language that he uses, and I would defy you to go back over the last 12 hours, listen to what he said at 3 a.m, look at the tweets. Yeah, he is still acting like a loser. Absolutely. He is still floundering around like a guy who knows it's not happening. This is Scarface. Well, he's got the machine gun and he's ready to start shooting.
First of all, they were very pissed when Fox called Arizona for Biden. They were so upset, and they called. I don't know how they have this, but they have the number over to Fox. And they called them and told them, I don't know how they got that, but they called them and told them to take it back. And Fox was like, no, we're not going to take it back. We've got the information. Arizona is solidly in Biden's. Now, a lot of others are slow. I think AP eventually called Arizona, but I think like the New York Times and some other organizations have not necessarily put Arizona in Biden's camp.
Well, I've always heard that the Associated Press is considered the most conservative.
That's correct.
And the most loath to call a state until they are absolutely sure that there aren't enough outstanding votes.
That's right.
To change the result.
That's the conventional wisdom. Yeah. So the Trump campaign was highly pissed at Fox News, and that grievance is going to continue on and on.
Tiniest violin ever. This violin is so tiny. I'm so sad for them.
I think the opinion show after 8 o'clock on Fox is going to be dreadful all week long. If they allow those guys to talk about how this is just a coup and how it's a banana republic, and that's all you're going to hear from Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham this week, right? About how Donald Trump has been raped by the Democrats in this county, by the black people in this country. That's all they're going to say for like days and days and days and weeks and months and maybe years, is about how this election was stolen from Donald Trump. Don't you think?
I guess. I mean, at one level, I don't really care any more than I cared that over the last 3 weeks, apparently Donald Trump's opponent was Hunter Biden's laptop. Okay. It's a story that went nowhere, deservedly went nowhere,
this
had
is what
no
kills
basis to it. And go ahead.
This is what kills me is that we don't give a shit so much about the ballots we can't account for. But the one thing and one package that we care for in America is we got to find out what happened to those fucking documents associated with Hunter Biden's laptop, right? That's the most important package in America. Not the thousands and hundreds of thousands of ballots that we can't find, but the documents associated with that thing.
LA Times, Trump steps up false claims of election fraud as votes continue to be counted. That kind of sums it up, doesn't it?
He's being cock-blocked on Twitter back and forth. When they put bad claims, they'll go, this content has been banned because it cannot be verified. Now, Facebook, on the other hand, you can distribute all of his lies all you want to. Apparently, they've been cowed by him to where this was the tweet from a minute ago. We are winning Pennsylvania big, but the PA Secretary of State just announced that there are millions of ballots left to be counted. That is from Donald Trump's account.
All right, so that's you're not winning big until they finish counting.
We're up by 10 with 5 minutes left in the game. Stop the game. Yeah. I mean, that's essentially what. Stop the count where I'm winning. Keep counting where I'm losing. That's what he said at 3:30.
You know, I was just looking. You know, which one really pisses me off in the Senate? That goddamn Susan Collins.
Yeah.
God damn it! What the fuck is wrong with the people in Maine?
But
Holy shit.
You have to feel good about the ghost of John McCain giving Arizona to Joe Biden. You have to feel good about that. You have to feel that the hand of John McCain.
It is more important.
It is key. But yeah, Susan Collins just does piss me off to no end because she was so namby-pamby. She was so milquetoast. But even some of the people on television who barely ever criticized Donald Trump were kind of not happy with that statement he made at 3:30. And I'm talking specifically about like Rick Santorum, even on CNN, Rick Santorum, who will go out of his way to find the one nugget.
Britt, here's the problem. Number one, it was at 3 a.m. By today, by the afternoon, they're moving on from those statements. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that Chris Christie, that piece of shit, okay, said, I disagree with what he said. No, you don't disagree with a guy who is flouting the very basis of the trust that people have in the country and the election when he comes out and says the things that he did, that the election's rigged, it's fixed, I'm going to sue, they're cheating, they're finding valid. No, you don't disagree. You know, Britt, if you rob a bank, I won't say I disagree with you. Okay, I don't disagree with the fact that you robbed the bank. No,
that's great.
If you murder someone, I didn't disagree with that act.
I disagreed with Charles Manson. I got to be honest. That's right. I disagreed with Timothy McVeigh. I just really feel like True. But they were immediately, I know on Fox, they had Chris Wallace on there and he goes, the president shouldn't be saying that. And he's not telling the truth about winning these states. He's not right about that.
If you want to see some entertainment, look at the Daily Mail version of the Chris Wallace story and then look at the comments that people make.
What were they saying?
Of course, it's, Chris Wallace is the biggest piece of shit. He doesn't know anything. He wouldn't even have a job if it wasn't for his father. Blah, blah, on and on.
On and on.
It's just stunning. But thank God we finally had our election, and now we can all come together as Americans. The system worked, and that's what's important. And we can. Okay, sorry. I was having an LSD flashback there for a moment.
What really bothers me is that what the Republicans are going to say, if in any way Joe Biden has any allusion to, hey, we won and I'm proud of what we won, they're going to be like, well, Joe Biden just really needs to be conciliatory and
he's spiking the football.
He needs to be president of all the people, including the people that didn't vote for him.
He said that's how he's going to run. And the fact is, you can think that all politicians lie, but I think you can go to the bank on that one because that's been the criticism from the left of the Democratic Party, that he's a compromiser, that he got along with Strom Thurmond and all these
There's
things.
No way.
Now, so the Republicans, they have no standing to attack Joe Biden for the very thing that he truly, truly is, that his own left flank in his own party was criticizing him for, but they buttoned it up and supported him. and it got him over the finish line. That's what a political party is. It's a series of different coalitions that get together. Just because the Republicans are my way or the highway, and everyone with any kind of intellectual integrity left the Republican Party and became a never Trumper, or was a never Trumper in the first place, that's not our fault.
Right.
That is not our fault. Just because as much fractious fighting there is within the Democratic Party was able to be put aside to be able to probably, it looks like, squeak Joe Biden over the finish line. Don't blame us. That's not our fault. It's not our fault. It's not our fault to put your fucking party back together.
Oh, that's true.
By the way, it's not as if you're going to have still a unified Republican Party because Trump won. And I understand that, or Trump lost. And now you can just forget that he ever existed. No. He's a cancer.
He is.
The cancer didn't just get extracted if he loses this election.
The rumors about him running in 2024 will start in about 10 minutes. That's what's going to happen. And that albatross should be hung around their neck for eternity. If it ain't him running, it'll be Don Jr. If it ain't Don Jr., it'll be Ivanka. If it ain't Ivanka, it'll be Barrett. They're going to have to live through this and suffer through this for the rest of their existence, and they absolutely should have to. They should slither on their bellies for all eternity for what they've done to this country for the past 4 years. And yes, but it just pisses me off that the people who rooted for Donald Trump to stick it up a liberal's ass every single day of his presidency will now be like, well, Joe Biden has to be conciliatory, even for those of us who didn't vote for him. There's no way that, like, if there's a natural disaster in Texas, Joe Biden is going to go, fuck them, they didn't vote for me. Donald Trump has done that with California and Oregon and Washington. He's done that specifically, and he's even said that he's done it. But there's no way Joe Biden would ever do anything like that.
I want you to think about what's on the line here over the next 12 to 36 hours, because I think, a day and a half from now, there will be enough votes in the key states for them to be able to call these states. The way that the coronavirus is going to be attacked and fought is so on the line right now. If
Huge.
Trump were to get reelected, you have to believe he would continue to go all in with his benign neglect. And now we're really going to get this economy back together and everything should open up. He's going to go on. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't do a rally tonight in Scranton, Pennsylvania. What do you think? Go to Joe Biden's hometown and try to rally a public support, get some street action on them, right? I would not be surprised if he did that. And, did I miss something, or did Donald Trump not do a super spreader election watching party at the White House last night? Nobody wearing masks.
I think that's
did I miss that? And then when were you watching when he made his thing at 3 a.m? Did you see that?
I was awake, but I was not watching,
because the shot I saw of it, later this morning, was that standard shot where you see about 5 rows of people and then you see Trump speaking. And I didn't see anybody wearing a mask then. So he, to the very end, to the last dying dog, he's doing super spreader events.
Trying to make people sick.
What
he's doing.
And going down. Versus if Joe Biden is the president, then Dr. Fauci will become more prominent once again. And I think all the powers of the federal government will be used to make sure that hospitals really are equipped and ready to go. Well, if we get a blow up of 150,000 cases a day, it could happen over the next 6 weeks or 2 months. It easily could happen. But boy, if Donald Trump is a lame duck president, over these next 90 days, then it's just Katie bar the door. He's going to let it run rampant, isn't he?
Well, not only that,
is there any evidence that he's not going to do that?
No, there's no evidence. And I also believe that you can forget your stimulus. He will fight the stimulus checks like crazy. Mitch McConnell is going to have a decision to make. Donald Trump will try to punish America for not reelecting him by denying them those stimulus checks. He will dig in so hard it's not even funny. In addition to pardoning everybody who ever lived, including Satan, Timothy McVeigh. He will try to pardon Jeffrey Epstein posthumously. Anybody, Bernie Madoff will get a pardon. that was going to happen regardless of the outcome of the election. But you're going to see a lot of. If you thought the guy was spiteful before, stay tuned. There's going to be a tremendous amount of spite. He may. I'm not even sure what he would do in specifically to specific groups and stuff to punish them, but he is going to be very unhappy that they did not reelect him as president of these United States, and he's going to take it out of some folks. There's going to be like that scene in The Godfather when they're at the christening and they're reciting, and all of a sudden, yes, I do renounce Satan in all his ways, and meanwhile they're gunning down everybody in town. Yeah. That's what's going to happen between now and January the 20th for sure. He is going to be on the Spite World Tour, and that may be your new rally. That may be your dream of the rallies, like the Donald Trump victory tour, where he talks about how he's going to fuck over people and gets like 2 hours standing over. Yeah, way to fuck him over. That may be coming to a town near you.
They won't call it. I mean, he will call it a thank you tour. He will do that.
He might call it the victory tour because he may have tried to convince these people that he actually won the election, Brad. He's not going to give up on that. He may call it the victory, the real victory tour, the true, or we won tour, or something like that, to try to convince these people that he didn't lose.
Right. Did you see the Andy Borowitz this morning?
I have not seen it, no.
Cincinnati Bengals announced they've won the Super Bowl.
That's fantastic. Since we've been talking, CNN has given Wisconsin to Joe Biden since we have been talking. So if there was any path to victory, which I don't believe there was for the Trump campaign, it just narrowed greatly. They would have to now, wouldn't they have to sweep everything now? Pennsylvania, Michigan, Georgia, Nevada, and Arizona. Wouldn't that have to be the path to victory now for Trump?
No.
And North Carolina, which I've already given to Donald Trump.
If Trump were to still win Michigan, okay, if he were to still win Michigan, then Pennsylvania would be the deciding state.
That's kind of scary.
Even if he lost Arizona and Nevada, it would come to, that's why they've been focusing on Pennsylvania, because there are a lot of scenarios that do lead back to Pennsylvania, but the one that doesn't is one state away, and that's go blue.
That's
go blue, Michigan.
That's why we need those Georgia votes to come through, because then that would kind of
Georgia again. Georgia, of course, would end it. Yeah. But I think you're going to get a count in Michigan before you get one in Georgia, because they've had some technical issues, as we like to say.
They had a pipe burst at one polling place on election day, which is kind of weird.
And is it all the time? I've had 3 pipe bursts in the last month in my house.
See, as it turns out, the Russians didn't have to do anything to fuck with our elections. We were capable of messing up on our own. The Russians had to do nothing.
See, but hang on. That's the point. There's nothing messed up about this election. Yeah. This is the way it always is. And just because we have Commander Chaos, Commander Sore Loser, Commander Liar in there throwing Molotov cocktails via Twitter every 10 minutes and saying things that make no sense, that doesn't mean that this election got fucked up. I go back to what I said 2 days ago. I think that the federalism aspect of our elections, where states and counties and cities run our elections, has turned out to be the shield, the defense against tampering from the outside, because everybody figured out, number one, you don't connect your election system to the internet. That's rule one. So nothing is connected to the outside. So the ability to tamper, say, with your actual vote at a voting machine by the Russians, by a guy sitting in the Internet Research Agency there in that building in St. Petersburg, is zero. It was not ever going to be able to be done this time around. And for Trump to try to say that this is some kind of irregular election, we are still less than 24 hours from the polls closing across the country, and we almost have a decision. So to me, this is a lot faster than a lot of elections have actually turned out to be. But if you're a Trumper, it's, oh my God, Everything just fucked up. Oh
Well,
my God!
I'd
Right.
rather be this than 4 years ago, because by this time 4 years ago we already knew that Donald Trump was going to be president. It was terrible.
Right. That's
I'll take
right. Because 4 years ago it happened the way it did. It doesn't happen that way all the time.
It doesn't.
In fact, 4 years ago was an irregular election in terms of the actual speed. Okay. And that was because it was a little bit more decisive. But in those 3 states, remember the famous blue wall of Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, the total difference was what, 80,000 if you add up all 3 states.
He basically became president, with an 80,000 vote margin. That's correct.
That's the bitter irony here today for him, because he's losing.
Right.
He's losing Wisconsin, and he's likely to lose Michigan.
That's right.
By very small margins too, reminiscent of how he won them a few years ago. Doggone it, if he just could have had a third-party candidate siphoning off some of those Democratic votes like they did the last time. If he could have had the Green Party running, pushing the AOC only sponsored Green New Deal, then he would have won these states, wouldn't he? But doggone it, apparently the Democrats got their shit together enough and made sure they did what needed to be done to make sure there was no upfront, out there third-party candidate. And the Libertarian, nobody even knows their name. Nobody knows their name.
Joe Jorgensen or something, like, because I was looking at it in Georgia and I was like grinding for the idiots in fucking Florida that voted for this person.
No, Joe Jorgensen did the 10 o'clock news on WNEW TV in New York, Channel 5. I'm sorry, that was Bill Jorgensen.
It's a different guy.
Different guy. Different Jorgensen. Mistake. Error. Our New York audience love that reference.
That's it. We're done.
We're out.
Keep the faith.